Hi, I'm Skinny Cheeks, and today I'll be going over the Magicka Necromancer for the Harrowstorm DLC. First off, I wanted to give a shout out and a big thanks to Cursed for sharing his setup in Parse with me. Make sure to check him out over on YouTube and Twitch. I'll put the links down in the description. Magicka Necromancer is one of the better Magicka DPS classes in the game right now, and is a must-have for Magicka compositions due to the group utility with major vulnerability from the glacial colossus. Having the boss take 30% more damage by everyone in the group for 8 seconds is by far the strongest single ability in the game. Usually you'll want 3 to 4 necros in your group compositions in order to take full advantage of this debuff, depending on the fights. The setup I'll be showing today has a simple and effective rotation, though it could be slightly more challenging for new players to keep up the dot abilities effectively. I'll go over the race in Mundus, gear, skills, rotation, CP, and end the video with a parse from Cursed on the 21 million raid dummy. In this setup that we'll be going over, Cursed was able to hit 90k DPS. For the race, the top option is High Elf, followed closely by Dark Elf, and then Khajiit. I'll call Breton a wild card, and probably a better choice for those newer to the game, and that's because of their incredible sustain and extra resistances to spell damage. In less optimized groups, the extra sustain could help you get through your rotation without having to heavy attack or use regen food, which could end up being a DPS gain. Breton is also more likely to survive with the extra spell resistance, which is helpful in pretty much all content. For veteran players, I definitely recommend High Elf though, due to the extra spell damage and the spell recharge passive, which gives back 640 stamina roughly every 6 seconds, and allows you to be a bit more aggressive with bash weaving. For the Mundus, we're going with the Shadow. And then for Vampirism, it's not absolutely necessary, but it is nice to squeeze in a little extra sustain, and it's even less necessary if you are a Breton. For the gear, we're using a 2-piece Zon, 5-piece Mother's Sorrow, 5-piece Sororia with the Sororia's Inferno staff infused with the flame damage enchant, and a Maelstrom Inferno staff infused with a weapon damage enchant. We're going all bloodthirsty on the jewels, and then a heavy helm and medium shoulders for the Undaunted passive. You can also do a medium helm and heavy shoulders, it doesn't matter either way. And if you want to run Mother's Sorrow jewels instead of Sororia, all the body pieces are interchangeable. You just want to make sure that the Sororia staff is on the front bar. And before the trolls start rolling through the comments saying, "This is a dummy setup," well, yes, it is, but it's also a usable single target DPS setup. Just like Reliquin for Stam, even though it isn't used in every fight, that doesn't mean it isn't usable in certain situations. And in those situations, this will be a great setup to use. That's one of the things I really love about ESO, is different scenarios call for different setups. Nothing is one size fits all. Also keep in mind, you don't even need to average 10 stacks of Sororia for it to beat out False God, assuming you're able to sustain it. That being said, I do want to still go over a couple of setups for when Sororia is not usable. For pure single target DPS, you can do a 5-piece False Gods with a 5-piece Spell Strat, and you'll do Precise on the staff with a flame damage enchant. For a little more of a mix between AoE and single target DPS, you can do the 5-piece False God with a 5-piece Mother's Sorrow infused on the staff with a flame damage enchant. For our monster set options, the strongest for single target DPS is Zon, but unfortunately it's not usable in a lot of situations due to either the boss moving, not being able to get into range, or it just being buggy like with the dragons in Sunspire. Alambris is a really nice alternative to Zon. It has a nice mix of single target and AoE DPS. Grothdar is also a good option for just purely AoE DPS. Slimecraw is a really strong option in situations where you're not receiving combat prayer, specifically Asylum Sanctorium. And then Iceheart is a good option if you're just looking for a little more survivability. For the skills, we're running Inner Light, Stalking Blastbones, Degeneration, Ricochet Skull, Mystic Siphon, and Shooting Star. On the back bar, we're running Barbed Trap, Unstable Wall of Fire, Avid Boneyard, Skeletal Arcanist, Mystic Siphon, and Glacial Colossus. The siphon spot on our back bar is a flex spot if you need a shield, a heal, or you want to slot Necrotic Potency for some more ult gen. For some fights it'll work a little better to slot Channeled Acceleration instead of Trap, or you can bribe someone in your group to run Stalwart Guard on you, and you can double bar Inner Light. In a lot of situations you'll want to run Mystic Orb in place of Degeneration, especially if the boss has a bigger hitbox and you can get all your ticks from the orb off on the boss, or you need some extra cleave damage. This won't change the rotation at all, just swap those out. One last thing to note about your skill placement, keep in mind your critical chance percentage so that your Death Knell passive puts you as close to 100% crit and execute as possible. It's okay to go over by a couple of percentage points, but if you get too far under, one thing you can do is move Avid Boneyard to the front bar and move Degeneration or Orb to the back bar. For the rotation, we're going to pre-buff with Blast Bones, Archer, and Trap, and then we'll do Blast Bones, Degeneration, bar swap, Unstable Wall, Boneyard, bar swap, Blast Bones, 2 skulls, Blast Bones, 2 skulls, and then start over. Since the siphon is off the global cooldown, you'll just weave it in between skills whenever it needs to be reapplied. And then you'll replace Skull with Trap, the Archer, or your ultimate whenever they're ready. For the CP, we're running 56 in Elfborn, 64 Elemental Expert, 66 Master at Arms, 9 Staff Expert, 72 Thaumaturge, and 3 Piercing. We put the 3 points into Piercing to get the Exploiter passive in order to increase our damage done against off-balance enemies by 10%. I see sometimes people run 75 into Thaumaturge to do this, but you don't get any additional damage from those 3 points. And Cursed brought up a really good point that if you just put the 3 in Piercing, you'll get slightly more damage from your bashes and from your trap. I hadn't really thought about that before, so good call there. Well, that's going to be the end of this guide. Thank you so much for watching. Here is a parse from Cursed on the 21 million raid dummy. Bye.